start without me. Okay. Well, isn't this fun? Okay. All right, everyone. This is Miss Karen, or Karen, I'm sorry. I forgot who I was talking to um, for a moment here. Um, this is Karen from Limestone Township Library District, and hey, we're in my bedroom with my favorite bookshelf. So um, I thought this would be the perfect place to do a book talk. We did this last month on the second Tuesday, and um, normally this is our book club night. But unfortunately, since we've started doing all this COVID stuff, we haven't been able to meet. And so we thought, well, people still want to know about books. How do we bring them to? And so this was what we came up with. We're doing book talk live on Facebook. So the first thing before I go into my pile of books, because I do have a pile, um, is I wanted to talk about this great program we have, the Bestsellers Club. And what it does is when you fill out this form, so you would put your name and your information here, including your library card. Then the next thing you do is you start checking off all these great authors that you might want to read, that you do read, and you want to be on their um, hold list for whenever they have a new book come out, like Lisa Scotland or Sophie Kinsella, who just did come out with a new book last month. Maybe you like Ken Follett or Diane Galvadon, because someday she is going to put out that next Outlander book, or Lee Child. This is a great way. And you're thinking, well, how do I get that? Because I can't come in. And that's true. We are at curbside only. So what you do is when you call in to arrange your pickup, say, you know what, Karen was talking about that list thing that I can get on the hold list. You know, and if you say bestsellers club, people will go, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about, and they can slip it right into your bag, your pickup bag, and then that way you have it. And then when you return your books, just make sure it's in there. We'll see it. Let us know it's there. And after it goes through quarantine, I'll make up my special little cards. And every time that author comes out with a new book, I will be putting your name on the hold list. Isn't that great? I love it. That way, if you're a big James Patterson fan or a Janet Ivanovich fan, you'll know that when the next book in the Stephanie Plum series coming out, you're on the list. So, um, so are you ready to get started um, uh, for for our book talk? Yeah. Okay, great. I was looking to see if there's any comments. No comments yet. Um, I'm going to write something really quick. There, there we go. So, here's the first book that we're going to talk about, and this is one of because it's the holiday season. Chewy, Gooey, Crispy, Crunchy by Alice Medrick. And it's a cookie cookbook. I love cookbooks. And with the holiday season, you want a really great, you want to try something different. At least I do. So, this is one of those this cookbooks with a great picture. Looks fantastic. And then nice big recipe on one page or two pages, maybe even three. And this is her chocolate chip cookie recipe right here. But there's all sorts of recipes. I've seen Linzer cookies in here. There was a whole wheat cookie recipe, and there was I saw little muffins. Oh, look at these. Aren't they fabulous? Anyway, something for the holidays because we liked cookies and we are kind of stuck at home. So if you ever want to um, uh, do that, uh, put that there. Um, if you want to check out some cookie cookbooks, you can always call us and say, I'm looking for something different. Do you have a dessert cookbook? Do you have a cookie cookbook? Call us and we will look and find them for you and get you set up. So, well, another holiday book, since it is the holiday season, this book was suggested to me by my mother. And she said, well, do you want to read a Christmas book that's not, sappy and syrupy? Because that's how my mom is. She doesn't like this, Debbie McComber and Ann Perry and all them. They put out good Christmas books, but that's just not my mom's style. So she suggested this book, um, The Christmas Train by David Baldacci. And what it is, it's about a man who is a former war correspondent. He's back in Washington D.C. and he's writing different kind of stories now. And he's going to go to California to visit his on again, off again girlfriend. Hmm. Problem is, there's a kerfuffle at the airport, and before you know it, he's not allowed to fly anymore. So he has to take a train. He has to take the train from DC to Chicago and Chicago to Los Angeles. Oh, yeah. And what's interesting are the people that he meets along the way. So, you're looking for something, um, a little different. This is a good, my mother highly recommended it. And she said, as she was reading it, she was casting it in her mind. And she kept seeing the lead character, as Matthew McConaughey. So this is definitely going on my pile to read, and you can certainly check that out. Now, my last holiday book that I'm going to suggest is called The Autobiography of Santa Claus, and written by Jeff Gwynne. Well, it says as told to Jeff Gwynne. So, um, but it is just that, a biography of Santa, and it is filled with beautiful um, illustrations. There's big ones like that, and then I just saw some small ones, small ones like that. So it looked to be an interesting read. It came in today, and I thought, I've got to try this out. And I thought it might be, a different kind of holiday book for grown-ups that they might like. Now, a lot of my books tonight are patron picks from our display that we had going before we were had to shut down because of our latest remediation level. And we were doing it in honor of our 25th anniversary. So people didn't get to see it, but we really wanted to share it. So I have a few books, and yes, I have the first names of the people who suggested them. So I couldn't tell you who they are exactly, and I probably wouldn't. But anyway, these are some of the books that they shared. Now, um, Hannah suggested um, "Where the Sidewalk Ends," and this is a book of poetry by Shel Silverstein. And Shel Silverstein liked to write fun poetry. So I'll do a quick one here. Two boxes. Two boxes. Two boxes met upon the road. One said unto the other, if you're a box and I'm a box, then you must meet my brother. Our sides are thin, we're caving in, and we must go no thinner. And so two boxes, hand in hand, went home to have their dinner. So if you're looking for some poetry, a little different, a little lighter, Shel Silverstein, you can't go wrong with him. He is great. He was great. Now, another book that was suggested by Zeke, he really liked this book, called Allies, and it's by Alan Gratz. Now, Alan Gratz has written a number of books set in World War II. This one happens to be about D-Day, and I read this earlier, but it's about a young U.S. soldier. So He's probably 18, 19, 20, and they're getting ready for D-Day, um, and which was a horrifying military operation meant to try to win the war against Hitler and the German army. And it eventually would, but it's what Zeke liked about this book is that it told it from somebody younger, from his his age, not as an older person telling it from their point of view. So Alan Gratz has written a number of books like this, Grenade and Refugee. Um, so very interesting. And if you're into war stories that are set for the a juvenile age range, that's where it is. That's a good one. Our next one is called The War That Saved My Life. Again, about World War II. This time told from the point of view of a young girl who is living in London. And then, because of the Blitzkrieg, she is farmed out to the countryside of England. And she suddenly has a new and different life and feels more valued. So, very interesting. Um, was suggested to us by Lucy. Thank you, Lucy. And it is a book that has been on my reading list. I've been meaning to get to it and haven't gotten there yet. Now, another book that is on my reading list, or I have actually read this book, is called The Parker Inheritance. And you'll notice the green label on it. That's because it is a Caudle Award nominee um, for this year. The winners will be announced in March of 2021. And so this book is one of the Caudle books. I read this book and I really liked it. It is about a young girl who moves to this small town after living in Atlanta with her mom and dad. Except mom and dad are now splitting up, and they've moved into grandma's house after grandma passed away, and they're finding interesting things, and then people keep talking about this treasure that the grandmother was looking for, and they thought she was kind of crazy. Now, unfortunately, grandma had dementia, so it was easy to say, oh, well, maybe it was starting when she did that thing. But what happens is the young girl, whose name I have forgotten, it's been a long time, Candace. Candace becomes friends with her next door neighbor, and they start looking for the treasure, and they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out what was the thing, what was being looked for. And it's also based on another book that did a similar storyline. So it's that book is discussed in here. It was really interesting and intriguing, and it was really a puzzle. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was great, and I hope that you take the time to read it. Um, I am going through. Here's my next book, recommended by Luke, and it's a book in the I Survive series, the Children's Blizzard of 1888. Um, what I like about these books is that it gets a kid's perspective from various disasters that's happening. There's about 10 or no, I think 20 books in this series, and I know I read the one about I survived a shark attack, which was based on a real story. And all of these are based on real stories. And so you get to see a disaster that's happening or has happened in history from the kid's point of view. And sometimes that's, you need to see that. You need to have the character that you can connect with. And I think that's what makes this series and this book in particular great. um, you really want that. So um, no, I'm going to go with this one next. um, Nicole suggested this book, The Witch of Blackbird Pond. And I remember reading this when I was a kid or in my teens. Now, you're probably saying, Karyn, you've gone through all these kid books. Well, you know what? Really good kid books inspire kids to read who become adults to read. And, lifelong learning is a great thing. I've been learning a lot about Harry Truman lately. And, it's improbable that he ever became president. But one of the things that Harry Truman did was read, and he read a variety of things. So he was really into lifelong learning. And so when you start reading books like this, really good books, when you're a kid and they turn you on to reading, it can take you anywhere. And this book is very interesting. It is about a girl, Kit, whose grandfather has died. Um, Set in the late 1600s, Kit has been living in Barbados with her grandfather, but now he's died, so she has to go live. The estate has been sold, and she has to go live with her aunt in Puritan, Connecticut. So things, so she's a strange girl. She's never had to cook or clean or make soap, make breakfast, and now she has to learn how to do all that. So she's strange in that way. And she's strange because she has a very fine wardrobe because she was the daughter or, the granddaughter of a man who appeared to have wealth. And now her fine clothes do not fit in the Puritan lifestyle. So she fits doesn't fit in, and then she finds herself spending a lot of time in this beautiful meadow area, and then she befriends an older woman who in time is accused of being a witch, and because she's accused of being a witch, people wonder if Kit is a witch. And so it takes time, but unfortunately, you know, things happened. And so this gives you a slice of history, again, from a young person's point of view, um, that we may not have seen before. Um, okay, so my next book is, well, it's a couple of books here. Um, I don't know if you knew this, but this is the 90th anniversary of Nancy Drew being published. 90 years. She's been around since 1930, and she was quite the divisive character. In fact, at that time, not every store would carry her books because she was different from every girl heroine. She was not shy. She was not, she didn't hold back. She was an adventurous. She solved mysteries. She asked questions. She was a regular, pain in the neck. She was Thelma before we had Thelma. So from Scooby Doo. Anyway, um, this is the classic Nancy Drew, and a lot of people know it, and we know that she's blonde and she has her little coupe, and but then you know, in over the years, they've written Nancy Drew up a little bit differently. Maybe they've made her more modern, fitting the times. There's some novels from the 80s and the 90s where she's dressed a little differently, but she's still that same nosy, inquisitive girl who solves mysteries. And one of the things I found that was very interesting is that Nancy Drew comes in a graphic novel series. This is a whole series, and the author or the writer is Stefan Petruka. So, you can see things are a little different. You can be a little darker with your drawings, or you can be bright. There's Ned, and so Nancy comes alive in a different way. So if you haven't tried Nancy Drew, if you've thought my kids are not going to read that because they're going to think it's way so old fashioned, and it is a little bit old fashioned. Of course, they were written in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. Um, the old books were. You know, Try the graphic novel. It's a little different, and it speaks to a different generation. And I love graphic novels. I really enjoyed them. In fact, one of the things about graphic novels is that they also, you can get them on a number of subjects. It's not just things like Batman and Superman and Spider-Man. Um, they have a number of graphic novels that are also classic novels. Sorry, my foot is starting to fall asleep, so I have to change positions here. Um, and one of the things I picked up or I saw, and I wish it had come. I ordered it, but it didn't get here in time. um, so is Moby Dick. Now, we all know Moby Dick. It's this really thick novel, and people are horrified by it, the size, the depth, the long descriptions of sea life, and it can be overwhelming. But try it first. If you have to read it, try it first in a graphic novel format. This one is by Chaboudé, and um, you can get a sense of the story in the pictures. Um, this particular one is an abridged version, um, but just the cover here is so beautiful, so well done, and it really tells a story. You're seeing the albatross flying around, you're seeing the men in a boat going after this whale. Did I cover up the men in a boat? I think I did. Um, so, you know, I would say try graphic novels. Um, especially you're thinking, oh, I've always wanted to read Moby Dick, but I've been overwhelmed by the thought of it. Try it there. A little different, shorter, and um, it'll you, you easier to take in, easier chunks to take into. So my last juvenile book, or this is actually a YA, is called Reverie. I just finished reading this and I really enjoyed it. Um, and it's about a boy whose name is Kane. He is recovering from an accident and he doesn't remember what happened. And eventually we find out that the accident he was in wasn't what he thought it was. It wasn't a it was a little bit different. And he slowly realizes that these four people, there's three other people who've been in his life and they were his friends. And it turns out they deal with magic. They all figured out some part of magic, um, and that they have special powers. And so they are learning to use them and how to use them when a reverie comes up. And that's all I'm going to tell you about the book, but I found it to be just beautiful. It's very interesting, and it also deals with, and I will be honest, Kane is they're all teenagers, they're in high school, and Kane is gay, and he's trying to deal. I don't think he's dealing with that so much as he's realizing how his difference and what other people's differences are. So I found it interesting, um, and I thought it was a worthwhile read. I think I saw this on Goodreads, and it's by Ryan LaSala. Um, so very interesting as the young man slowly remembers what his powers are, what he's capable of, and learns what he can be capable of. Mm, scary stuff. Um, my next book that I just finished reading is Alice Hoffman's latest entry into her Practical Magic series. Now, I realized I thought Practical Magic was done years ago, and the original book was written years ago. And then a couple of years ago, she wrote The Rules of Magic, which was the story about the aunts that we see in Practical Magic. Well, one of the things they talk about in both books is Maria Owens, beautiful, beautiful woman, who is um, the founder of their family in America, and she's a witch. So again, we talk about magic, but this is also set in Puritan times, and during the late 1600s in Massachusetts when women could be arrested for being a witch, and they didn't have to have a whole lot of um, um, evidence against you. And so this is about how Maria does everything. She is incredible. So I'm going to have to send this back because this belongs to a different library than our own. Um, I'll have to. It goes into quarantine tomorrow when I take things back. But I really enjoyed listening to it on audio. You can also get it in the regular book format. It was fantastic. Enjoyed it. If you like exploring that series, if you like Alice Hoffman, who tends to base her things off of fairy tales. So, again, very interesting. I enjoyed it. Now, considering that that was I wanted to talk a little bit about movies that came from books, or in this case, it's TV shows. So I've been hearing a lot about the Queen's Gambit. And if you're following our chess club, you'll know that Austin has been showing games from the Queen's Gambit. And the story starts out about this little girl who's 8 years old. Her name is Beth, and she's living in an orphanage and she's not very happy. She's very quiet. She's very sullen. And then one day, the janitor teaches her how to play chess, and it unlocks something in her, and she discovers something more. And she realizes she's very good at this. And when we start seeing her, she is, and suddenly she's coming alive, and she's in these championships, as a teenager. So, um, I think for those who have been following the TV show or been thinking about following the TV show, um, I believe it's a mini series. You can read the book first. This book was actually written in the 80s. So, very interesting, worthwhile. Austin recommends it highly. And if you go back and look at his chess club um, videos, you can see the games. He has recreated the games that she played and was incredible. So another book that I wanted to talk about that is going to be a mini series very soon is called Daisy Jones and the Six, and this is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Um, I found this to be incredible. I listened to it on audio. The book reads like a transcript, so person's name will appear and then whatever they're saying, and in the story that they're telling, and many many players. But in the essence, Daisy Jones is a Hollywood wild child who happens to be a songwriter, performer, and she is really, really good and very, I think, evocative would be the word for it. And a producer teams her up with this group, the Six. That's why it's Daisy Jones and the Six. And they've had a couple of hits. And then the producer goes, no, you two would meld together perfectly. And so they travel, and the book is about their lives before they joined, the time they joined, and then a little bit after. But it's all being told from their present self. So they're all looking back 20, 30 years ago. And really, really good book. It's my understanding that this is becoming a series on Amazon, and Riley Keough is going to play Daisy, which feels appropriate. Um, in case you don't know who Riley Keough is, her mother is Lisa Marie Presley, which makes her grandfather Elvis. A lot to have on your shoulders, but she is a good actress, and I was reading the rest of the cast list and felt that it would be very good. It's well done. So I'm looking forward to seeing the show, and I would suggest that you get you get the book, Daisy Jones and the Six. If you can't get it on audio, it's got an excellent cast, including Jennifer Beals and oh, um, oh, I can't. Billy Crudup. Billy Crudup plays um, Billy in the book, and then Dominic Cooper is also in it, and he's fantastic. Lots of fantastic people. Anyway, give it a try. Okay, next book. This was recommended by Patricia, and she said To Kill a Mockingbird has been one of her favorites. Um, Written by Harper Lee, who died a few years ago. Um, this is a seminal book about the South, about racism, um, you know, the levels of racism, it's just an interesting slice of life. Sorry, it's time for me to take a drink of water. And I think, even all these years later, it's very interesting. And if you want to read its other book, which her other book is called Go Set a Watchman, and it was actually what she initially wrote, and what her editor said, no, I think you gotta put it, fine tune it down a little bit, and that's what this became. So thank you, Patricia. Now our next book is J.D. Robb. Oh, here we go. Apprentice in Death. And this is her Eve Dallas series. So very oh sorry, gotta move again. Um, you know, it's different from her other things, and it's a little futuristic, but always um, a good time. I know other people have said that they like her series. Our director enjoys this series. So the In Death series, or Eve Dallas, and if you can, give it a try. Thank you. Let's see. Michael told me that he likes Catcher in the Rye, and as you may, this is the J.D. Salinger book that every year winds up on somebody's banned book list. And I understand why somebody might be offended by it. There is a lot of cussing and swearing and actions that are hard to take. But it's basically about a young man who is going through a hard time dealing with the death of his brother. Um, and he decides to quit school. He goes to a boarding school, and he's quitting yet again, and is having a wild night right before the holidays in New York City. Always interesting, thought provoking. Um, when I read it as an adult, I felt much differently than I did as a teen. And so I always think it's worthwhile reading those books again and again. So thank you, Michael. Um, Carol suggested this book. It's called The Flower Girls, and it's about, this is going to be a little convoluted, but it's about two girls who are accused of murdering a younger child when they were children. And then it's now 20 years later, and the one girl the one girl did not go to jail, but the older sister did. The sister in jail is about to get out. The family's about to be reunited, um, or are reunited, and then another child is killed in a similar way. Um, so now they've got to work to not be prosecuted. They've got to prove their innocence. So um, just a different, another kind of procedural. And Carol really loved this. When Carol was in and we said, do you have a book you'd recommend, she went right to the shelf, pulled this one out, and said, this one. So um, it's in our audiobook section, and I really like audiobooks. You can do that one was a CD. You can also do playaways, and if you need help ordering them, um, please feel free to ask, because we would love to do that. Now I have one last book, um, and I'm going to tell you right now, I haven't read it yet. um, The only reason I picked this, that I ordered this book and it just came in, was because of the title. It's called The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. And it's about a woman who's in, they live in the South. She has her book club. And then this man starts talking to her a lot. And he's witty and he's charming. And then she realizes that maybe he's a vampire. And maybe she's going to have to do something about it. So, uh, interesting. I haven't read it yet. If you have read it, please let me know if you liked it or not. Um, but it looked quite interesting, and this is going to be my fun read. I'm in the middle of a big book called Palaces for the People about libraries. Um, but I'm looking forward to that book as my fun read because you have, if you, as my friend Libby was telling me, um, you can do a couple of serious books and then you have a fun read. Serious books, fun read. I like to bounce it back and forth. That way, when I feel overwhelmed, I can just drop into a different world and have some fun. Um, and I know a lot of people do it that way, or maybe they just stick to, maybe you like history, or maybe you like deep sea deep diving stories. Whichever one it is, excuse me, I have the hiccups. Um, that is what works for you. So I want to just thank you for spending a little bit of time with me, and hearing about some new books. I will be putting this up on a list in a day or two, um, so that you can go, oh yeah, what was the name of that book? The one, the one about the band, Daisy Jones and the Six. Yeah, and you'll see it and you'll go, that was the one. And you can call us at any time while we're open. We're open regular hours, but we're doing limited time on our curbside service. But you can always call us and say, hey, can you order this book for me? And we will be happy to do that. And, we do curbside service, and we are happy to, if you have a book that's come in and you've been notified, you can call us and say, hey, I want to come pick up that book. Please do, call us and we will get you taken care of. And, we'll set a time up for you. And, we have the spots 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you just let us know what car you're driving. And then when you get there, you just call us and let us know, hey, I'm here to pick up my book, and we'll get it out to you. So, um, and I think that's everything. I do believe, no, chess was last week, so we'll have a chess club next week. And I do believe that on Monday we have a cooking session coming up with Austin, and he told me he was making pork meatloaf with roasted sweet potatoes. And I'm going to look because I really like sweet potatoes, and I'm always looking for a new way to do them. So, anyway, I wanted to thank you again for spending a little bit of time with me. Um, I hope you got some ideas for some books that you want to read, or maybe you saw a new author that you're interested in following. And, like I said, in regards to the Bestsellers Club, give us a call. We'll put it into your curbside pickup, and then you can fill this out and get books on a regular basis too. So the nice thing is we're still getting deliveries, so we can get books from other libraries. That's wonderful. We just can't have people come in. And we miss you. We really do. But we're glad that we can figure out ways to spend times with you. So thank you, everyone. Have a good night, and I will see you later. Bye bye.